Hello, my name is Tracy McCurlane-Burns and I'm the Chief Nurse at the Rotherham NHS Foundation Trust. It's my pleasure that I introduce you to this e-learning video on the use of 24-hour adult fluid balance charts used here at the Rotherham Hospital. It is evident from recent reports locally and nationally that fluid balance charts, which are an intended part of high quality, safe patient care, are not being used effectively. And they are sometimes being used on patients that do not need 24-hour fluid balance records. In addition, when they are being used on the correct patients, they are not being filled in correctly or accurately. Further, when they are being filled in correctly, actions are not always being taken when a patient is clearly deteriorating, making their use clinically irrelevant or ineffective. As a result of these findings, a task and finish group was established to develop a fluid management bundle which resulted in redesigning our fluid balance chart, but more importantly, creating programmes of training and education designed to support all of our staff in delivering high quality care for our patients here in Rotherham. Fluid balance monitoring has to be accurate, and it is vital if the patients under our care are to receive safe, high-quality care. This video will form part of your training and education whilst working at the Rotherham Hospital. Before I conclude my introduction, I would also like to emphasise the importance of your hydration. As your Chief Nurse, please know that I endorse you in having a requirement for regular drinks. Thank you.
Hello Jenny. Yeah. The organisation is introducing these new fluid balance charts today, and I would like to spend a few minutes with you, if that's okay, highlighting the key changes, because there's quite a few key changes. The first key point is to ensure that the charts are only used on patients that require an accurate 24-hour monitoring. So if your patient meets any of the criteria, for example, they're on an IV infusion, they're nil by mouth, or they've got excessive urine output or stoma losses, or you've just got a general cause for concern for your patients, then you place your patient on an adult 24-hour fluid balance chart. Okay, so it's important that these documents are completed accurately. Quite often we see documents without enough detail. It's important that the surname, forename of the patient, the date of birth, the sex of the patient, the consultant that they're under, and the ward and the hospital number completed. Quite often as well the date is missed off, and that's vitally important. The next important section is the patient assessment and goals. It's important that we weigh the patient and we have the accurate weight for the patient. Then we need to make sure that we fill in the target minimum fluid input for our patients. And the previous day's balance. Obviously, if they haven't got a balance, then obviously we need to document that. The assessment is your assessment of the patient and why they need the fluid balance chart.
For example, if they were nil by mouth,
yes,
that would be...
Yeah, that would be an assessment. And your goal is what your outcome is, which is to maintain their fluid input.
Would the goal be one of the 5 R's on the back of the...
It would, yes, chart? Yes, yeah. So we've got resuscitation, we've got the routine maintenance for patients, we've got replacement patients, and we've got redistribution of fluid, as in sepsis, etc., and reassessment. Obviously, we need to reassess our patients on a regular basis. You will notice from the old charts that the start times and finish times for the monitoring has changed. We're now starting at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's then calculated at 6 o'clock in the evening, and then again 6 o'clock in the morning for the 24-hour period. It's important that we accurately monitor the input, and as you can see, there are 3 columns. Above this one, you could write oral, as in drinks that the patient may take, IV fluids, and then other input, which may be NGs. Peg feeds, things like that. So it's important that you put oral above and then put the type of fluid. So it may be tea, okay, and the volume that they have. IV fluids, if we are giving IV fluids, then it's important that you actually document the hourly rate that they're receiving. So it may be that you put normal saline and then put 83.3 mils an hour or 125 mils an hour, depending on the frequency of the fluids. We then need to look at output, so we'll look at urine output in mils, NG or vomit. We also have the pH, aspirate for any NGs. We've got drains, and there may be more than one, so we'll have A and B. And we've also got other losses, which is PV, fecal stoma. And it's important as well that you initial the document. And this should relate also to a specimen signature, which is on the back. At each 12-hour period, it's important that it is calculated and balanced up. So it's important that these inputs, the 3 inputs from the various areas, are calculated and the total recorded here. Once you've calculated the input, you then can calculate the output and put the total output here. What we then need to do is deduct, obviously, to find out the balance for this patient. So we'll take the input and minus the output, which will give us either a positive or a negative balance for this patient. And it's important then that we sign here to say that we've calculated it at this time. Obviously, once we've done that, we'll start the second 12-hour period, and the same process applies to this. The only difference with the second 12-hour period obviously will be them transferring the details onto the next day's chart. Okay, and it's important again that that balance is transferred onto the new chart when we get it. Okay. Right, finally, Jenny, it's important when we're doing handover that the information is handed over clearly to the next shift. It's important that you hand over all the patients that are on an accurate fluid balance, and also that you hand over if you've got any concerns at all about your patients. However, you should be aware that you shouldn't wait till handover. If you've got any concerns during your shift about the fluid balance of your patients, then you escalate it to the junior doctors.
The key messages from this video are as follows. Firstly, it is our responsibility to identify the patients who require fluid balance monitoring. We must identify appropriate patients. Secondly, we need to complete the charts accurately if they are to be meaningful in our aspiration to deliver safe, high-quality care. Thirdly, patients on 24-hour fluid balance charts need you to balance those charts at 12 hours and at 24 hours. And finally, in relation to the messages, if any of those things are to make a difference to our patients, you need to understand when to escalate concern. And I strongly advocate that you use the SBAR communication tool when escalating and during patient handover. Thank you, and thank you for watching this video.